for certain, things don't just happen, they happen justly. And what do you mean? What do I mean when I say this? Well, just think about it. You showing up here tonight was not on accident. Things don't just happen, they happen justly. Similar to a seed starts off with purpose, it has potential, it has power. And when it's properly positioned and nurtured, it has the potential to maximize as clear as many opportunities as possible, right? Well, let's look at another theory behind this. How can a rose grow through concrete? A rose started off as a seed, right? That had purpose, that had power, that had potential, that was properly positioned, was nurtured, and it reached its maximum opportunities. Now, if we go back and we look at being properly positioned, it's not always the way we think it should be or it has to be. And nurturing may not always be the way we think things are nurtured, but we still reach our maximum potential. So if you give me a second, a lot of times we have to remind ourselves what we possess, right? So just give me a second real quick. I need to remind you to help me remind me when we go into uncomfortable spaces, what we have and what we possess, right? So I'm going to ask you to take a walk with me. 7 years ago today, I can't tell you what time I woke up, what I ate that day, or even what I had on. But I can tell you on my way home from work that day, my phone went off. And it was a text. And don't judge me, I was driving and I did pick up and I did read that text. And it just so happened I had just turned into my subdivision when I picked up that phone. It was something about the heaviness when I picked up that phone that I did not know or intended or expected. There was a message from my son, my only son, the child that I birthed, my greatest inspiration, my greatest accomplishment, my greatest challenge, my everything. And that text simply said, Mom, I love you and I appreciate everything you've done for me in my life. He said, I appreciate our family, Pawpaw, Granny, Uncle Reggie, and Aunt Kelly, and I can't wait to see you all again. Something about that message gave me an uneasy spirit. So I had to sit there and really think about it. But as I was thinking, something deep on the inside boiled up. And it said, call him immediately. And when you call him, be as positive and upbeat as possible. So I did that. The phone rang. He answered rather dry, hey, Mom. And I said, hey, Pumpkin, what's going on? And he immediately busted out in a deep, heavy sob. And he began to tell me about the things that had happened that day. And I sat quietly and let him give me his story of what happened that day. And as he finished, I took a deep breath and I said, baby, we have been through so much. You will get through this too. He got quiet and took a deep breath and simply said, Ma, I love you, but I'm done living. The next couple minutes, I called back, didn't get an answer, went straight to voicemail, did it a couple times. I called my mother and I said, have you spoken to Jalen? She said, no. She said, what's wrong? I don't know, call Jalen. Of course, immediately going into solution mode, he's an active duty military. I found the number to the military police and I called them. And I told them about the text and I told them about the conversation and I told them, you need to find my baby. The lady took some information from me Hung up. A few minutes later, she called back, confirmed some more information, asked some more questions, and told me, don't worry, she was going to take care of it. She was on it, and she would find out what was going on. So you can just imagine, the rest of the time I just walked, and I prayed, and I walked, and I prayed. My phone rang again, and this time it was my mother. And she said, have you heard anything? I said, no. And she said, well, call back. I said, no. I need to allow these people to do their job. Don't you have faith? And she said, no. At that point in time, it was important for me to realize that I was a bridge. I was a bridge to uphold my parents and to hold on to my son. And as I was going through those thoughts, that same energy that told me to call him and be upbeat told me to look at Job, to study Job, and look at all the things that Job did, and no, do not lose faith and keep praising God. So that's what I did. I walked all night, I prayed, and finally in the middle of the night, my body was physically tired. I knew I wasn't going to get sleep, but I took the time and I laid down and closed my eyes, and I was on my side. And as I laid there on my side, I felt the indentation of somebody getting into bed with me. And I heard, I didn't know what else to do. I'm sorry. Then I started getting the sensation that I was underwater. And then I started seeing images of military people and funerals and things of that nature. Couldn't take that. So I jumped up and I cleaned my closet. 5 o'clock the next morning, I called the military police. I said, look, this is who I am. This is why I'm calling. And the gentleman said, oh, yeah. We had a description of your son's car going into the Cumberland River. We searched until we couldn't search anymore. The tide was too high, so we're going to wait for daybreak. What? I don't understand. Do I need to come right now? No, ma'am, we'll call you when we figure it out. No. I immediately grabbed the bag, grabbed the dog, called my best friend and said, I'm going to Kentucky right now. And she says, no, you got to call your parents. You can't go by yourself. I said, I'm gone. She said, just do me a favor, call your mother. Called my mother, and she said, I'm riding, let's go. Never saw this woman move so fast in her life. We got in the car, and we took this 5-hour drive. And I remember one of the phone calls that we got while we were on the road was our pastor. And he asked if we had heard anything. There was this voice that came out of my body that I didn't recognize, and it scared me. But in response to his question, my response was, he's dead. And I remember looking into the highway, fog, early morning hours, and just focused on getting to the Cumberland River, Fort Campbell, Kentucky, Clarksville, Tennessee. And as we pulled up, there were search parties all around. And we got out the car, and again, I heard a noise come from my body, which was an ear-aching scream. And a gentleman comes running towards us. And that gentleman happened to be the lead investigator. So he ushered us into this building, he asked us questions, and then he gave us the rundown. And that's when he advised us that he had been found. The next thing that we saw was this car being pulled from the Cumberland River. The person that I knew, the person that I had birthed, I would no longer see physically. And he asked, could he usher us to the police station? I told him no. I was not going to move until that car went past me. And they had attempted to throw a tarp on top of that car. The tarp blew off partially as the car was moving past. And it was almost to just confirm that he was gone. 5 days later, Jalen arrived back. He came on a Southwest flight. His first sergeant traveled with him to bring him home to me. The captain of the flight got off, saluted him, as well as everybody on that airplane, saluted Jalen as he descended from the cargo. And I asked the funeral attendant, I said, I can't go home until I see my child. So we rolled back from the airport to Gary, middle of the night, and I waited. I demanded to see my child by myself. And when I went into that room, it reminded me of our first pictures that we took. He was probably like a week old. And you know how babies are. They do not cooperate. He was awake until we got to take the pictures and then woke up after the pictures. And I remember looking down at him and he was so peaceful. That's how my son looked when they brought him back to me. He was in a peaceful sleep. He had come home. He had been gifted to me for 19 and a half years. And now he was returned to sleep, a heavenly rest with God. This, things don't just happen, they happen justly, is a very hard pill to swallow, right? However, there are things that we have in this life that prepare us to be able to stop, take a review, and understand that things don't just happen, they happen justly. We may not understand in that moment, but it's all purpose driven. And if you come from a place where you have a solid foundation, remember I talked about that seed, and one of the main aspects of that seed was power. That is the foundation. And power is an acronym starting with protection. No matter if you're on the beginning of your journey, in the middle of the journey, or at the end of the journey, you got to make sure that you're properly protected. The O is for opportunity. When the opportunity knocks, you don't have time to get ready. You have to always be ready. And then the balance of our power are our weight goals, W-A-I-T, those things that we have to work on and we strive for. But it's also our weight goals, W-E-I-G-H-T, that hold us down, that keep us grounded. Education, remaining humble, having humility, and knowing that you don't know everything, and being a sponge to learn as much as we can while we can when we have that opportunity. And one of the most important pillars of our foundation is retirement. Not like most people think, stop working, go get a house in Florida and chill. Retirement has so much responsibility tied to it. It is our responsibility to pass the torch. There are people coming behind us who need to hear our stories, who need to benefit from our experience. And then when we finish doing what we're doing, it's about elevation to the next thing that we are gifted to do. So we talked about my Job experience. But as you go through life, you're going to have a Jacob experience. And as Jacob said, I'm going to wrestle with it until it blesses me. And that's exactly what we have to do. So I look at everything that's happened, my journey, and the love that I have for my son and have for my son and what he taught me, what he teaches me, and what he's put me in the position to do. His last words were, "Ma, I love you, but I'm done living." That changed my life. It is now about loving to live. And we all know that life gets hard. But tie a knot in it, hold on, and live to love. Hold your vision close to your heart. Dare to dream. And understand that we all have a story. It begins with us, and we have to be bold enough to tell our story. As we sit in Gary, Indiana, this is a fertile land, and we all are seeds with power, purpose, and potential to be the change. So as this fight continues, one of the first things that happened after Jalen died was we started a foundation, the Love for Jalen Foundation, which the objective is to help our youth transition into adults, but more importantly, to have folks understand, do not make permanent decisions for temporary situations. It also birthed another child, Jay's Breakfast Club. I just wanted to give people good food and send them home. But the people would not leave. They fought me. They fought me to the point where we are now engaging in building our own facility. And we live every day a mission to inspire positivity through love, doing what we love, where we love, for the people we love, which has now erupted into another idea, which is Victory Way, taking it even further. And that is changing the narrative of Gary, Indiana. We are not desolate. We are not hopeless. We are not blighted. We are full of potential. These are fertile grounds, and we are victors. And we will soon be introducing Victory Way. So take a couple of steps back, and let's look at this rose. This rose started as a seed. That seed is me. That seed is you. We have power, we have potential, and we have purpose. And believe it or not, we are all positioned properly. We have all been nurtured, and we have been nurtured to be the change. Things don't just happen. They happen justly.